Hello, on a beautiful spring day as we approach Memorial Day weekend. Yesterday, I took a walk from St. Anne up to Highland Park, walking through the park, looking at the lilacs that were halfway open and just taking some time to smell the flowers. They were beautiful. I want to talk a little bit about the idea of when can we start gathering together at Mass? When will the church be open as such? This past week, the governor at his daily news conference said that religious gatherings of no more than 10 people could begin happening. And there may be a feeling of, oh good, let's jump right in. But the word that we're getting from Bishop Matano and from all of the Catholic bishops of New York State is to proceed a little bit more thoughtfully and carefully. Because we need to think about lots of things like disinfecting the church after every service. We need to think about things of, okay, we're starting out, they can say 10 people. Well, how do we select those 10 people? Who's allowed in and who is told, sorry, we have too many? We need to work through these things. And we had begun, under the bishop's direction, to do that last week. And now we learn about, well, religious gatherings of 10 would be okay. So the New York State Catholic Conference, so Cardinal Dolan and all the bishops of New York State have issued this statement. Our Catholic people are hungry for the Mass and are anxious to gather together again in prayer and worship. At the same time, we have a moral obligation to protect our congregations and our clergy from COVID-19. So we will proceed slowly and responsibly and collectively. It looks as though, in terms of when we can reopen to have Sunday Mass, that it will be in phase 4 of the state's reopening. We have just started phase 1. When phase 4 comes, we don't know. It depends upon how we do in keeping the spread of the virus low. So our behavior will have a great deal of effect on when we reach phase 4 and when we can begin reopening. But the bishop has advised us that there are a number of things that we need to think about, decisions we need to make, plans we need to develop before we can reopen. And so some of them are that question of, if attendance is limited in number, if we're told only 50 people can come, only 10 people can come, only half of the church can be filled, however it's expressed, how will we decide who can come in? How is that going to happen? At the moment, I have no idea. This is something that we really need to give some careful thought to. The whole thing of cleaning. So before Mass and after each Mass, we have to disinfect the church. We're beginning to research supplies and where can we get those supplies. And then to think about, well, who's going to do it? Are we going to have a group of volunteers who will go through the church after each Mass to disinfect? There's all of those kinds of things. And then, of course, the matter of social distancing. So roping off pews so that we keep people farther apart. We're told at least every other pew should be roped off. Then maybe we should rope off 2 pews so that people are sitting in every 3rd pew. And then only people in the same household would be able to sit together, and we'd have to really be spread out in the church. Everybody will be expected to bring their own mask and to wear their face mask during Mass. Things about communion and some of the other particulars about the celebration of Mass have not yet been communicated to us by the bishop, who has said there'll be more directions coming later. But I think we know some things based upon our experience of the last couple Sundays before we had to close the church. So those first 2 weekends in March. And if you think back to some of the changes that we made in our practice during Mass, I'm sure that a lot of that will be incorporated when we are able to reopen. I look forward very much to when we can open the church again. Father Lawler and Deacons Rabjohn and McDermott and I have been privileged to celebrate Mass together each day. It has been a privilege because we have access to Mass. We have access to communion. And we recognize this is a privilege that we have that so many people do not. We appreciate it also because in place of a homily, we just share, the 4 of us, about the readings. And that sharing has become rich and deep, and we appreciate that. We pray for all of you each day as we come together for the 4 of us to celebrate Mass. We recognize our own privilege, and we long to share that once again with you. I look forward to the day when we can have people in church. I can see you all again. We can rejoice with each other and can together physically worship God once again. In the meantime, let us be careful about social distancing, wearing our face masks, washing our hands, being careful about disinfecting things. Because the more care we take with that, the sooner we will be able to reopen the church and come together again. Thank you.